Hey guys, so at the end of the previous tutorial we had our pretty basic lunar module landing shape for the base. Still a little bit of work needs doing to this. I'm going to do the scoops. I don't know what the technical name is, that the landing legs, whatever they're called. This is a landing probe, okay. Landing probe is the technical name for these dishes that sit on the bottoms of the legs. So we're going to model those next. So we're going to create a new circle shape. And we'll go to a top view. And we're going to position these so it's centered over our leg there, the end of the leg. Okay, and then we can scale this down until it's about the size of our landing probe, which is probably about this size. We'll move it up so it sits on the bottom there. Alright, tap into edit mode, and we'll hit E to extrude, S to scale. I'm going to move that down a little bit because this needs to be kind of a dish shape. So again, E to extrude, S to scale, and we'll drag it down. E to extrude and S to scale, and we drag it down a little bit more. E to extrude and S to scale. So something like this. It's going to kind of curve inwards. E to extrude and S to scale. Bring that in. And we'll bring it out a little bit. E to extrude and S to scale. And then F for our final face. Okay. Basically done with this. We're going to add a couple of modifiers. So first thing is we want to have a smooth shading. Then we're going to add a solidify modifier. Increase the thickness a little bit. We're going to apply this modifier. Now you see there's our new thicker mesh. Then I'm going to add in a subdivision surface modifier that smooths things out a little bit more. 2 subdivisions on it. Tap into edit mode, and then I'm just going to add a bevel, edge select, select this loop of edges, Control B to bevel. We add a small bevel to this, 2 segments. I'll just give us a slightly sharper edge there. And then there's this kind of thing that the legs sit into. It's like a ball and socket joint almost. So tab into edit mode, grab these faces, E to extrude, we'll bring that up, S to scale, bring it in a little bit, and then we'll just get a hold of the center face, which will scale upwards, and E to extrude, we're going to extrude this in, like so. Edge select again, select around here and here, Control B to bevel. We're going to bevel this just a little bit. And then it's just a matter of inserting this into the foot there. Now if you want, you can model the ball that goes on the end of the foot, but I think unnecessary level of detail. You're not going to see it from all the way over here anyway. Then you can join this to the rest of our object, and it will be mirrored automatically over onto the four corners. That's starting to take shape now. So next thing we're going to want to do is these supports that come out at the bottom here. Let's check out the shape of those. So straight edges, and then these though are not going to curve all the way around. They kind of bolt in to the back of the landing gear there. So unlike the top one, which curves all the way around, these kind of bolt into these straps that are going around the sides. So we just need to create basically some straight members that come out. Let's have a look at the real Lunar Lander. You can see them there again coming out from the sides there. So now a lot of these joins were covered with this tin foil, so you're not going to see them. So don't worry too much about modeling the actual joints. Just kind of get everything joining up almost correctly. And then there's this cross brace that's on here as well. So again, we're going to start by modeling from a cylinder, which will scale down. Drag it out into position. Let's go to a top view. We'll work on this corner as we have been with the others. So it's going to basically start in about the same place as the top one. So I want to rotate this x-axis 90 degrees. And it needs rotating inwards, but not too much. So I'm just going to scale this out. And it will be rotated, if we go to a top view, on the z-axis, but only a little bit, not a lot. Scale it down again. And then just make sure the end is hidden away inside there, okay? Just want to scale out a little bit. Okay, now we're going to duplicate this and put it on the opposite side here. So Shift and D to duplicate it. Go to a top view. It's going to want to rotate the opposite way. Not too much, just a tad, like so. Probably enough. Drag that in. Go back to top view. Probably needs rotating a little bit more so that it's symmetrical with our opposite side then. Probably be about good enough. All right. And then we have the other brace that comes from there and joins up with the main leg. So what I'm going to do is Shift and D to duplicate again. Drag this out here. Go to the top view. Rotate Z-axis. Now it's just a matter of lining this up. And then scaling it. Rotating again until we have it almost touching our leg. So easier from the top view, so we can rotate it around and get everything lined up. Probably from here, like so. Scale again, because it only needs to come just to the rear there. We'll rotate a bit more. Like this. Now wherever this joins up, we can then just drag this back, because we want to get this angle right. So our original leg may have been a little bit long. Just by moving these around, we can get everything to the right size. Then we're going to have a connection joint which comes off of here, which this will go into. So it needs to come almost to the rear, actually, of the leg. Which means that this will also come back a little bit. This can come forward slightly. Okay, now it'll just be a matter then of duplicating that over to the other side. So actually, we can remove this and we can put in a mirror modifier using the legs. Join these two pieces together first. Then we'll add a mirror modifier using the legs. Move that out. Okay, so they are joining at almost the right place. So we're going to select here, here, and here. Actually, we'll just grab that end one to start with. We'll just move this back. Rotate. And move. Because it should come to just behind the module there. So we'll scale this out a little bit. So it's just starting to touch. Pretty much, there we have it. Just scale it down a little bit. Grab hold of this face, E to extrude, S to scale. Scale it up slightly. E to extrude again to pull this out. To here. Okay. So that's the bracket, or the beginnings of it anyway, which is going to hold the legs into place. I'm going to need to place a couple of loop cuts on here. And then face select. I'm going to want a bunch of these faces going around here. Once we've got all of those, E to extrude, and we will extrude this out. I think I'm missing one face. Yeah. Shift and select. Alright. E to extrude. Extrude that outwards. So this is going to be the kind of fixture on the leg that this bracket is going to go. Bracket is going to go into. So now I want face select. Drag that out until it disappears inside of that bracket. Yeah, nice. Okay, so there's our connection on the end there. Now I just need to make a similar type of bracket, which is going to join these areas together. Bring that out. So basically where these two circles meet, and there's going to be another one that comes in from behind. We're going to need to put a kind of bracket similar to what we've done there. That's beginning to take shape now. So I'm going to create a new cube, which will scale right down. And is basically going to form the joint. Scale it down in height, a bit less in width. And I'll rotate it around, just an angle like so. Now we have our bulk joint there joining up these sections, so I'm just going to join that together, and then you see it's copying over to the other side. Tab into edit mode. I'm going to put a bevel on all those edges. Alright. Tab back out of edit mode. Okay. Now there's one final bracing that goes here, which is a cross brace that runs from this joint back to the main module there, and also in the opposite direction. So I'm going to place those in. Again, create a new cylinder, scale it right down, rotate it on the X 90 degrees. Get this positioned correctly. Okay, so it's going to be running along this line here. And we're going to need to rotate it a little bit more because it should be pointing over at this side. So from here, if it moves in a straight line, it should hit that. We'll line it up with the center of this. Back, and yeah, that's about good enough. So let me grab the scale arm, scale this out to the correct length. There we go. So there's one. And then we need another one of these. Shift and D to duplicate. And we rotate it around the Z-axis. So it should almost be a mirror. Line it up with the center there. Rotate on the Z. There we go. Okay. We'll apply that mirror modifier. We'll join all of this together. So it's now all one object. And then we add another modifier, which will be a mirror modifier again. Our mirror object is the LM base, and we do it on the X and Y. Go to top view, you'll see that now we have that on every side. So we are almost done with this. There's a couple more brackets. You see there's these ones that come up vertically here, and also these that come out at an angle supporting the top area underneath. So they are pretty easy to do using the same methods that we've just been using there. So bring in a primitive object, a cylinder, rotating it, lining it up, joined up to the main object until you're done with that. So I'll leave you to do that yourselves as your homework, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.